Welcome to our deep dive into the world of AI.
Sounds exciting.
Today we're going to be separating fact from fiction,
Oh, well,
hype from reality,
sounds good.
as we explore this concept of AI snake oil.
I like it.
And to help us do that, we're drawing on some insights from an interview with AI expert Arvin Naran,
Okay.
author of the book AI Snake Oil. And this interview was featured on the CXO Talk podcast. So get ready,
Oh, yeah.
because by the end of this deep dive, you will be equipped to spot AI hype, ask the right questions, and really understand the real potential and pitfalls of this rapidly evolving technology.
It sounds like we're about to bust some myths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Narayan doesn't hold back.
Good.
He even mentions a company claiming to have a robot lawyer ready to argue cases before the Supreme Court.
A robot lawyer. That's quite a claim, especially considering electronics are banned in the Supreme Court.
Right.
This perfectly illustrates the audacity of some of these claims.
It's a wild example of the kind of deception that Narayanan calls AI snake oil.
Yeah.
But it's not always so blatant.
Right.
More often we see companies exaggerating AI's capabilities or applying it to tasks where it's simply not the right tool.
Yeah, that's an important point. It's not about saying that AI is inherently bad. It's about being critical of how it's being used and marketed.
Absolutely. And to understand that, Narayanan makes a distinction between two main types of AI, predictive and generative. Can you walk us through those?
Of course. Predictive AI, as the name suggests, aims to predict the future. It's used to assess things like loan risks or flag potential tax fraud. Think of it as trying to figure out what will happen.
Okay.
But, this type of AI can be used in more ethically complex scenarios, like predicting whether someone might commit a crime.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see how bias in these systems could have devastating real-world consequences.
Wow, that's a sobering thought. And generative AI is a whole different ballgame, right?
Yes. Generative AI focuses on creating new patterns and outputs. Think ChatGPT generating text or AI composing music. It's about producing something new that didn't exist before. While seemingly less ethically fraught than predictive AI, generative AI raises concerns about authenticity and copyright, especially as these systems become increasingly sophisticated.
So one is about prediction and the other is about creation, but both come with their own sets of ethical considerations. Now let's talk about a specific application that caught my eye, hiring automation.
Oh, yeah.
Narayan is very skeptical of software. That claims to assess job candidates based on their body language and facial expressions in video interview.
Yeah. It's an area ripe for AI snake oil. First, the science behind linking micro-expressions, those fleeting facial movements to job performance, is shaky at best.
So you're saying someone could be judged on how much they fidget during an interview?
Precisely. And that leads to the second concern bias. These algorithms are trained on data. That can reflect and amplify existing societal biases, potentially leading to unfair outcomes based on someone's appearance or cultural background. Imagine an algorithm trained on data where most successful candidates happen to be men. It might then unfairly penalize women who don't exhibit the same behaviors.
That raises an important question. Why are we so quick to believe in these seemingly magical AI solutions, even when the evidence is thin?
Well, Narayan points to several reasons. First, there's certain reverence for tech CEOs and what he calls the cult of the expert. We tend to trust those perceived as visionary geniuses, especially when dealing with complex topics like AI.
It's like we assume they have access to knowledge we don't, and therefore don't question them.
Exactly. Then there's the role of media hype, and reporting that often lacks nuance, focusing on breakthroughs without fully exploring the limitations or potential downsides.
Yeah, it creates a sense of urgency, a fear of being left behind, which pushes businesses to adopt AI without necessarily thinking it through. No one wants to miss out on the next big thing.
That's right. This fear of missing out is a powerful motivator. So how can we as individuals avoid falling for AI snake oil?
That's what I'm eager to find out. What can we do to become more discerning consumers of AI?
Well, Narayan's advice is all about empowering yourself. First, don't take claims at face value. Be skeptical, especially when encountering bold promises or marketing hype. Don't let flashy presentations or big names sway your judgment. Ask critical questions.
Skepticism is key, so don't just believe what you hear.
Right. Look for evidence to back up those claims. Demand data and independent evaluations of AI performance. Don't settle for vague assurances or testimonials. Ask for concrete proof that the AI actually delivers what it promises.
So we need to dig deeper and demand proof. What else can we do?
Well, You can get hands-on. Experiment with generative AI tools like ChatGPT yourself. You'll gain first-hand experience and a better understanding of their actual capabilities and limitations.
Trying it out for yourself is a great way to cut through the hype. It's like kicking the tires before you buy a car. What about staying informed about the larger landscape of AI?
That's where seeking out critical analyses comes in. Don't rely solely on the companies selling AI. Look for sources that challenge the industry narrative and offer more balanced perspectives. Read articles, listen to podcasts, engage in discussions. There are many voices out there offering valuable insights.
So it's all about being an active and informed consumer of information when it comes to AI. That makes a lot of sense. And I think this brings us to a crucial point. It's not about rejecting AI altogether, but about understanding its real potential and pitfalls, so we can make informed decisions about its role in our lives.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about being thoughtful and discerning in our approach to AI.
Now, before we dive into the ethical considerations and the role of institutions in shaping the AI landscape, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
That's a great idea. It's important to pause and consider the implications of what we've discussed. We've been talking about this importance of skepticism and critical thinking when it comes to AI. Now let's kind of shift gears a little bit and explore the real promise and peril of this technology, moving beyond the hype to understand its impact on our lives.
Yeah, because it's not all doom and gloom, right? AI does have the potential to do good in the world.
Absolutely. AI can be a powerful tool for addressing complex problems and improving lives in many ways. Consider AI-powered medical diagnoses that can detect diseases early, or personalized education systems that adapt to individual learning styles, or algorithms that optimize energy consumption to combat climate change.
Those are some fantastic examples. It seems like AI can be a force for positive change when applied thoughtfully and strategically.
Precisely. But there's a crucial caveat. We need to be incredibly mindful of how we develop and deploy AI, ensuring it benefits society as a whole.
So it's not just about AI's technical capabilities, but also about the framework guiding its development and application.
Yes. And this is where things become complicated. AI is often presented as objective and neutral. But remember, it's built by humans, trained on data reflecting our biases, and deployed in systems that can perpetuate those inequalities.
Yeah, it sounds like if we're not careful, AI could make the problems we're trying to solve even worse.
That's a real danger. Yeah. Narayan argues that we often use AI as a band-aid solution for broken systems. We attempt to use AI to fix things like biased hiring practices or inefficient healthcare systems, but we risk obscuring the root causes and failing to address the underlying issues.
It's like using technology to mask the symptoms without addressing the underlying disease.
A perfect analogy. This highlights the importance of having a broader discussion about the role of institutions in the AI landscape.
Because institutions play a huge role in shaping how AI is developed, implemented, and regulated.
Exactly. Take social media companies, for example. They face immense challenges with content moderation. They're tasked with policing the vast amounts of information flowing through their platforms. And AI is often seen as the solution.
That makes sense. It would be virtually impossible for humans to moderate the sheer volume of content generated every second on those platforms.
You're right. But the problem is, these companies often lack the public's trust to be the arbiters of what's acceptable and what isn't.
It's a tough spot. They need to moderate content, but are constantly criticized for censorship or bias, no matter their decisions.
And adding AI to the mix doesn't solve this fundamental issue of trust. It might even exacerbate it, given the public's skepticism about AI and its potential biases.
So who is ultimately accountable when AI makes decisions about the content we see online? The company, the developers. It gets complicated quickly.
Absolutely. This is where regulation and ethical frameworks are crucial. We need clear guidelines to ensure AI is developed and used responsibly, with safeguards against bias, discrimination, and other potential harms.
This seems like a monumental challenge. Where do we even begin?
Narayan suggests that a sector-by-sector approach to regulation is likely the most effective, tailoring guidelines to the specific context in which AI is being used. This acknowledges that the risks and concerns will differ greatly, depending on whether we're talking about AI in healthcare, finance, criminal justice, or any other domain.
So a one-size-fits-all approach to AI regulation wouldn't be practical.
Exactly. But there are areas where broader controls might be beneficial. For example, there's debate about regulating the open release of AI model weights.
Can you remind us what model weights are?
Think of them as the core parameters that determine how an AI model functions, its brain. Some argue that keeping these weights private is vital for security and preventing misuse. Others believe open access to model weights fosters innovation. and allows for scrutiny and accountability.
It's kind of similar to open sourcing code, but for AI.
You've got it. And this is a decision with significant implications for the cost of developing AI and the potential for both misuse and progress.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act between promoting innovation and mitigating risks.
It definitely is. And another area where overarching policies might be needed is labor. There's growing concern that AI could lead to widespread job displacement and exacerbate existing workplace inequalities.
We've all heard the warnings about robots taking our jobs.
While the full impact of AI on labor is still unfolding, it's crucial to start considering policies that protect workers' rights and ensure a fair transition to a more automated future.
It reminds me of the Industrial Revolution and the disruption it caused. It took time for society to adapt and establish new systems to protect workers and ensure fair labor practices. Perhaps we're going through a similar transition now with AI.
That's a thought-provoking parallel. And just as the labor movement rose in response to the challenges of the Industrial Revolution, we might need a new movement advocating for workers' rights in the age of AI.
So it's not just about regulating technology, but also about addressing the wider societal impacts and ensuring everyone benefits from AI advancements. That's a tall order, but an essential conversation to have. This brings us back to the question we raised earlier. How can we create organizations and a society that are truly AI ready?
That's the million-dollar question. Narayan stresses that being AI ready is not about blindly adopting the newest technology or chasing every shiny AI tool. It starts with understanding the problems we're genuinely trying to solve.
So we need to start with a clear understanding of our needs and goals,
Right.
rather than being seduced by AI as a cure-all.
Exactly. Then we need to be critical and discerning in our approach to AI adoption. Ask those tough questions, demand evidence, and experiment to determine what works and what doesn't.
It's about actively shaping how AI is integrated into organizations and society, rather than passively accepting technology.
Precisely. This requires a cultural shift both within organizations and society as a whole.
What kind of cultural shift are we talking about?
It's about moving away from blindly trusting tech CEOs and industry hype and embracing a more critical and questioning approach to AI.
So we need to challenge assumptions, demand evidence, and hold people accountable.
Yes, and this applies to everyone, from individual workers to company leaders to policymakers.
It sounds like creating an AI-ready organization and society is as much about social and cultural change as it is about technological advancement. It's a journey we're all on together. And the choices we make now will shape the future of AI and its impact on our world. But before we wrap up our deep dive, let's take a moment to gather our thoughts and reflect on everything we've explored today.
That sounds like a good idea. Taking a pause allows us to fully absorb these important concepts and consider their implications.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of AI snake oil.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey so far.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
from understanding the different types of AI to the importance of a critical approach and, recognizing the influence of institutions.
Yeah, and the potential harms.
It's a lot to take in,
For sure.
but hopefully we've equipped you with the knowledge to navigate this complex landscape.
I think so.
So let's distill it all down to a few key takeaways.
Okay.
The first and most important one is this. AI snake oil is real.
Yeah, it's out there,
It's out there lurking behind the hype and promises.
hiding in the shadows.
Don't be fooled by the glitz and glamour.
Right.
Remember, AI is not magic.
It's not a magic wand.
It's a tool that can be used for good or ill.
It can be used for a lot of things.
Which brings us to our second takeaway.
Okay.
We all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not just up to tech companies or governments to decide how this technology develops and is used.
Right. It's up to all of us.
As informed citizens, we need to participate in the conversation,
Absolutely.
demand transparency, and advocate for ethical and responsible AI development.
We need to make our voices heard.
It's about taking ownership,
Yeah, taking control.
empowering ourselves to shape the AI-powered world we want to live in.
I like that.
Absolutely. And that's where our third takeaway comes in.
Okay.
This deep dive has equipped you with the tools to be a savvy consumer of AI.
Be critical.
Remember to be skeptical.
Ask for evidence.
Demand evidence.
Try it out.
Experiment.
Don't be shy.
And don't shy away from asking tough questions.
Exactly.
Knowledge is power,
Oh, yeah.
especially when it comes to AI. The more we know, the better we can navigate this complex landscape.
I completely agree.
Now, before we wrap up, we want to leave you with a thought-provoking question. Inspired by Narayanan's focus on institutions,
Okay.
he questions whether using AI to fix broken systems is simply masking deeper problems.
That's a good question.
It makes you wonder if we're just slapping a technological band-aid on societal issues
Right.
instead of addressing the root causes.
We need to think long term.
This is a question with no easy answer,
Well,
but it's crucial to consider as we venture further into the age of AI.
I think so too.
Are we using AI as a quick fix? Or are we truly committed to creating a better future with this powerful technology?
It's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
That's something for all of us to ponder.
I hope our listeners will think about that.
We encourage you to keep exploring AI with a critical eye,
Yes. Stay curious.
to question assumptions,
Keep learning.
and to share your own insights and discoveries.
Share what you find.
Because ultimately, the future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we're all creating together through the choices we make, the questions we ask, and the actions we take.
That's a great way to put it.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI snake oil.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep. Until next time.